welcome back to another episode, and episode 2 of Featuring Regular People. It's a brand new podcast aimed at to be talking to anybody and everybody, some people from really cool different walks of life, and we just want to make it as fun as we can. So we've got a huge guest today, going by the name of Jabba. But Khan, I mean, if you want to jump straight in and introduce us a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one I'm really excited about. Obviously, Jabba, a really good mate of mine, serious DJ, got his own drum and bass label under the name of OTC. So looking forward to having him sit down and have a bit of a chat. Obviously, you guys have never met before either, so good opportunity for you to find out a bit more about it as well, Luke.
And before we jump straight into the content as well, what I do want to say is obviously just mention Jabba's socials. Obviously, you know, one, give us a like and a share and a follow, and please subscribe. But more importantly, you know, hit Jabba up. What's your socials, Jabba?
Yeah, find me on Instagram at Jabba_OTC. You can also find the record label just at OTC Recordings, and also on Facebook as OTC Recordings. I think that's got 19 at the end of it though, because that's the year we started the label. But yeah, it's pretty much easy to find.
So we're just going to confuse all the people out there already then, yeah?
Yeah, slightly.
Did you actually only start in 2019? Because I know it was going longer than that.
Nah, see, that's the thing. OTC as a whole, that was just started off the back. Basically, I had a pirate radio show which turned into an online radio show back in Bury a few years ago. Like, we're talking maybe even 2016 actually. But then like I invited some people on the show, main person being like Louis. He was at the very first show with me. Just because I don't really like doing things on my own. It's almost a laugh when you do things with your mates. So he was there from the very start. And then we invited some other lads. And they always named the show, the people that run the thing, they always named it after me. And I just thought that was not self-centered, but it involves them too. You know what I mean? It was a crew effort by one point. So we just was in the car one day. And obviously off the cuff, which is what OTC stands for, by the way.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah, we have it on the jumpers there. But yeah, anyways... But yeah, obviously off the cuff means you don't plan anything. And we were just in the car on the way back one day, what can we call it? Oh, we don't plan anything. And someone, I can't even remember who it was, but someone said off the cuff in the car, and obviously the initials are OTC for that. But yeah, so anyways, the reason about it being 19 is the record label didn't start until 2019. OTC itself been going since 2016, but we decided to turn it into a label and do something more of it because, well, it's all for fun and games DJing, isn't it? But a lot of our mates then were producing, so we wanted to put our own friends out on the label, etc. Because obviously it's hard to get signed. And I mean, was this more of a,
you know, obviously making kind of things official with the OTC record label? Was this more because you mentioned the pirate radio? So was this a way to kind of legitimize, obviously the movement? Because obviously drum and bass, you know, is absolutely huge anyway, but it hasn't been that way for such a long time. So was that kind of the reason why you decided to formalise it?
Yeah, there was a few reasons, to be honest. Like, well, guys, there's more of them going next time, well, but there's a few reasons. Basically, the pirate radio sort of thing shut down, and then I got another opportunity with Rough Tempo, which is quite a big thing. But that was quite a while. That was quite about a good year after pirate radio shut down. If anything, we had been really quiet. A few of the original members left to do their own thing. And then when I brought it back, it was because two good friends of mine that supported it really heavily, they like passed away. And like I said, there's nothing, I've never really done it I've never really just done it for myself. So then when we got the opportunity on Rough Tempo, we thought, what can we do like to sort of honour them as well? Because they properly supported it. So we sort of brought that back. And then like, someone set a fire on my building.
Is that a fire alarm?
That is fucking quality.
Are you joking me?
Right, boys, obviously one for the blooper reel there. Might have noticed a dodgy cut. Anyone watching, we have ourselves a bit of a fire alarm situation, but these things never run smoothly. So we're back. Yeah, before we were rudely interrupted, Jabba was just telling us about the pirate radio thing. But take us back to the beginning, mate. How did this interest in mixing and DJing first come about, and how did you get your start?
Basically, my dad was a big DJ back in his day. He was bit in Greece, completely different sort of music. He played like, well, not really techno, but you know what I mean, that sort of tech house, that sort of stuff. All the old classics, pardon my language. All the old classic sort of stuff that he'd play. So I've always been into mixing and that sort of stuff. And then away from that, when I grew up, I'm a big hip hop head, and obviously original hip hop is mixing breaks from vinyls. So I've always been interested in the whole mixing music. And then obviously as I got older, dubstep was a big phase. So I started mixing that with my mate Ozzy, and he's the one that really got me into mixing, actually sort of taught me how to do it. But the whole pirate radio thing started quite a few years later. I was about 17. I managed to get an under 18s gig in my local town in a club. And then I was doing that for a while, obviously turned 18, sort of grew out of that a little bit. And then my godfather just happened to know someone in Bury that did the pirate radio. He just, just come along one day. So that's literally just started out of nowhere sort of thing. And then just, like I said, I wanted to keep it on. I liked it always as a good hobby. So we just continued that. I brought along my friend Sluey, as I mentioned before. He's the person I run OTC with. But yeah, so that's how it was behind a chicken shop in Bury. That's a proper sort of people just do nothing sort of vibe.
Classic pirate radio chicken shops.
It's the sort of thing you only see on TV. It's funny, but yeah, it's always a good laugh. It's always just been a hobby and enjoyment of mine. The fact that then I could take it on and do something with it. Yeah, and that's another reason why we went from just calling ourselves OTC to like the recording, as I mentioned before. Yeah. Just good to do. If you can do something you love, they say if you do something you love as your work, then obviously you don't work a day. That's what they say.
Exactly that, mate. At what point did Rough Tempo come about then? Because for people who don't know what it is, it's like a sort of, well, you'll explain it better than me, but essentially it's just different shows.
It's just an online drum and bass radio. They did have an FM back in the day, but obviously as everything changed to digital, he didn't apply for his new license. And obviously as everything went to the internet and computers anyways, he didn't feel the need to. I mean, they're an award-winning drum and bass radio. Like they've won it multiple years at the Drum and Bass Awards. The guy that runs it's really sound. But how that come about was, it was about a year, I'd say. The pirate radio sort of run itself into the ground. So it was all self-funded by the people. So we actually had a good 7 months of not doing anything. And some of the people that originally come to pirate radio stopped coming. So then when we sort of brought OTC back, my girlfriend at the time, I saw an opportunity there, and I said, "Oh, I'm not even good enough. I won't bother messaging." Sort of put myself down. But she goes, "What's the worst that can happen?" He says, "No." And then luckily, a few months later, he got back to me and said, "Yeah, when do you want your show?" So with that little push from her, which is, like I said, another reason in her memory and that, and in my mate Will's memory, why we kept it as OTC rather than changing it, that just sort of got put on a plate for me. Luckily, he thought I was good enough, and then we sort of tried to just take it from there.
Yeah. I mean, just to jump on that one there then. So obviously for me, the only thing I've heard about pirate radio is people just do nothing. Now, obviously, that's a complete mockery of the actual kind of scenes that people and the DJs that have come from that kind of scene. But how does it kind of go? How do you go about judging like the analytics or, you know, and the reach that you have to people? Because realistically, if it's a pirate radio, for me, that just says like there's not really many people listening, or it's difficult to get people to listen. So how do you then kind of multiply that platform and then get known in that scene?
Well, see, you weren't wrong whatsoever. It is sort of, if you know, you know, yeah. And if you go too far away from where they have an aerial, you're going to pick up a completely different radio station. It is. Like, I'm not, I wish I was joking. I wish I was. After we was in Bury behind the chicken shop, we moved into literally a back village outside of Bury. And if you went outside of Bury or near past that back village, you wouldn't get it anymore. But by this sort of time, they were phasing out of that, and this whole internet and Facebook Live was becoming a bigger thing. So where originally we couldn't really judge what we were getting viewers, and we just sort of, like I said, we're doing it for the love of it. Then when Facebook Live sort of come in its early days, then we could see how many views we were getting. People could interact with us a lot easier through comments and that. So that obviously helped us build up more of a following, because when you can interact with anyone, it's like a whole host sort of thing. I mean, I'm not an MC or a host. I've had a joke and a laugh bit, but when you can interact with people in the comments and that, it's a lot easier, rather than, like you said, on just the pirate radio, you don't have a clue who's listening, if they can hear, what they can, So it's all a big. So you aren't a million miles wrong from the whole people just do nothing sort of thing. I can't lie. It's a bit like,
I think anyone who's mucked about and had a little like mixing collective who watched people just do nothing could relate to that in a massive way, because it's really not too far from the truth. But just to jump on that, really you're saying about obviously the Rough Tempo and the lives and that, and like interacting with people, because that's before I even knew you and we became friends or whatever. Like I had heard of OTC and I had seen the live streams, because obviously Cam, one of my cousins who used to muck about with MCing back in the day, he obviously MC'd on there a couple of times and I saw it. And then that was it, mate. Every Friday, 3 till 5, wasn't it? Or 11 till 1. What slot did you use?
We actually had the 1 till 3 originally.
Wait, are we just to clarify this one? Are we talking AM or PM?
PM.
PM, right?
PM. See,
that your midday drum and bass,
yeah.
Mate.
Yeah. See, I don't know. It's a weird one because not everyone, even that's into drum and bass, wants to listen to like heavy drum and bass at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know what I mean? Luckily, the sort of following we have, we've got a lot of friends that they'll know when it comes out and they'll just see the video, save it, and then go back to watch it. So luckily, like we've got a decent following like that. So even when we end the show, say every other Friday, like Khan said, every other Friday 3 till 5 at the moment. Even when we end the show, we never really look at our views and that. Then we give it a day or two because a lot of our mates will go back and watch it. And I've went into my mate's house before and they're watching shows from a month or two ago just because they like that one. So the following we do have locally and for the people that know us is quite luckily a dedicated one in that sense. And it's always good to get like appreciated for what you do. Like I said, we only still do it more as a hobby and for the love of it. But when you can make something out of it as well, you're playing at a festival which you were going to go to anyways, but you're playing then on the same lineup as some other big DJs. It's always a bonus, you know what I mean?
Well, that seems.
I mean, what are the kind of numbers that you're talking about when you're doing festivals? So, talk us through like a couple of them you've done, your favourite ones.
Oh, right. There's my favourite place I've probably played as a day festival is actually only over in Mildenhall. It's an event called Blueprint, and that's a proper like because they do it in a bit old warehouse. That's a proper. There's 1,000 people there at least. You're playing on some big stage. It's all dark settings. That's probably like one of the favourite sets I've played. But as for atmosphere, I played at the Strawberry Fair. This was 2019. We were meant to play there again in 2020, but COVID. But yeah, 2019, there was easily like about 700 in not more than loads of people at the festival, but 700 easily minimum in front of that stage. And the vibes there were probably the best because we got to play when the sun was up until dark. So it's just, you know what I mean? You see the whole like change of the like.
What you imagine when you think summer festival vibes.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's all nice, sun's out, everyone's like sweating out. Well, I know that sounds weird, but you know what I mean? They're proper enjoying it.
It's just about to get serious.
I mean, for anybody that doesn't remember what festivals are, you know, they were those things where people would gather, listen to music and get drunk, just to remind everybody what a festival is.
Yeah, they used to have
it seems like such a long time ago. But...
Oh, mate. Well, that probably seems like quite a good segue to drop in about, obviously, we've mentioned the rough tempo and that, like DJing on the internet, but going into some of the events and that, what are some DJs that you've supported who you've like really enjoyed working behind?
There's some into like maybe an older school crowd or my older school heads that know it drum and bass from years ago. Ragga Twins, who they are just huge. They always have. They're highly respected as well. They actually play on rough tempo. We see them quite a lot, and so it's nice to also when someone like that's been in the scene for a long time recognises you because obviously you know you're doing something right there. But yeah, Ragga Twins, J-Line. I personally say the biggest currently in the scene that I've supported is TI. That was actually we did our own event. And TI, we know him quite well because he was the one that actually first ever did the OTC close. We'll go into that later. But yeah, TI is probably the biggest person, and he's probably down to.
And that's pretty big.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like, so, and then the thing, once again, like I said, when someone like that respects what you're doing as well, and they're saying you're on the right path, and that does obviously give you a boost. Like I said, if we can turn anything we're doing as a hobby into any sort of career, then that's a win. So.
Mate, that's one thing I think about the drum and bass scene in particular, because it has, even to this day, has a negative stigma around it for various reasons. But
yeah.
The people in the scene, like obviously T.I. is massive, mate. Like, he plays all over the world, and the level of respect and like just how sound he's been with you lot and other like smaller artists, like to this day, like I think that's something you see in the drum and bass scene a lot. Like people are just always trying to build each other up, regardless of status.
Well, that's what I mean. It's lucky because, say, like in a pop music world, it is like cutthroat. You know what I mean? Because even people at the top are like, if you're that good, they worry about you taking them spot.
Yeah.
The thing is, with a lot of the people I've met in the drum and bass scene that are older and they're doing their thing now, the second you're on your way up, they're like, well, look, you're the future of this. You know what I mean? So a lot of them are quite happy to support. and give you like tips or what he likes with producing, that sort of thing, which is something I've not branched onto yet. But like as I mentioned, that's why we did OTC Recordings for our friends that have. But so it's nice to be able to get feedback from people that are big, and like I said, they know that you're the future. So it's never really a put down thing. I've not really come across anyone in the drum and bass scene that you'd call stuck up or arrogant, like, to be honest. So
they don't really go together, do they?
Yeah.
Just to, I mean, touch on that a little. So, I mean, that's quite a positive industry to be a part of, which is obviously hugely important. But, I mean, why do you think that's the case?
You know what? I'm not too sure. A lot of the big producers now, they've obviously been producing for years, because to make your craft very good to the level people like T.I. have, he's actually been around a lot longer than most people know, but that not at the level he currently is.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put my personal finger on it, but they all know if we support each other, the people that buy his tracks, for example, would be or his biggest market would be the people that are up and coming, because they want to play his music and that. So it's sort of, you respect the people that put you on that pedestal, I think. And with like a lot of other things like pop and that, like I said, or anyone that does popular culture music, it is cutthroat. It is like they're already signed by a label and this and that, where a lot of things in drum and bass are quite or all of them originally are independent, and then obviously when they get big like a Ram Records or a Hospital, then they're not independent anymore. But everyone starts on their own 2 feet, so they're quite helpful.
Well, and I mean, yeah, that's kind of the feelings that I had. Obviously, it comes from that kind of underground, independent, like you were talking about, that kind of pirate radio scene. And I think if everybody has come from that same spot, then I guess they can see the kind of graft that people have to put in to get to the level that you're at, and to get to the level, the people that you've worked with are at now.
Exactly that, mate. Exactly that. They've been there when they're not getting paid anything for a show, and they're turning up to do it for the love of it. But when we was getting our first events, just like when they would have been, we were paying out of our own pocket for travel. We might have got a drink bought for us, but you know what I mean? It's all, you're working a couple of days a week to then do something that you're not getting paid for, but you do it for the love. And then hopefully when you do get recognised and you are putting 24/7 into it, then you do get the reward back.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
I think, as we were saying about like drum and bass having that stigma around it, I think a lot of the early artists, like the pioneers, if you will, worked really hard so that their music could be heard. So they're just gaps that there's more people interested and wanting to get involved in the scene.
That's what I mean. They've been doing it since drum and bass was a bit of a, like you said, it does still to this day have a bad stigma about it, because you will always get one, as you will in most places, you get one person that will ruin it for a lot of people, as you do, as you can in any walks of life. But yeah, they've worked from day dot, from when they could barely sell a record to now they're the people that are idolised in the scene, and you've got people coming out of everywhere that are, fuck's sake.
Khan, yeah, do you want to jump back in?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so second interruption of the evening. Clearly, someone's having some problems cooking in Jabba's building, but it is what it is.
Making loads of luau.
Yeah, Jabba. So obviously you mentioned about T.I. Saying he done the clothes for you. To my knowledge, he does that for quite a lot of people in the scene as well. He definitely Chromatics gear and that, doesn't he? Just wanted to say, like, at what point did you decide that you wanted OTC to be more of a brand and like not less about the music, but more than music? You wanted clothing as well.
Well, once again, it's sort of how everything in OTC's evolved. Like nothing. When it started, we didn't plan none of this. We didn't plan to become a label. We didn't plan to go bigger in that sense. Same with the clothes. Like when we started then doing other things, we just wanted our own T-shirts that just said our logo on it, just for when we were on video. Because like I said, we started doing video with the Facebook Lives and that. Just so then we had our own personal ones, and then we just kept on getting messages from people going, "Oh, I want one of them T-shirts. I want one of them." So we just thought, just only even for our local mates and that, we thought, "Oh, we can do that." And as I said, because I spoke to T.I., I know it. Like you said, he does printing for near enough the whole scene. Some of the biggest labels, Ram, Hospital, because he's obviously got a lot of connections. So we knew we was with the right person if we wanted to make our own clothes. Yeah, people just kept on asking for them. So we just made a few little hoodies at first, like I'm wearing one of them now. Hold on, I've got a logo on the back. I've got none of the other clothes on me.
You just gave us a 12, but we couldn't see the logo. If you stand up straight, we'll see it.
Stand up straight.
Turn around. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Big up OTC.
But yeah, see, that was just one of the first hoodies. We just went sort of playing because, like I said, we didn't plan to really do the whole clothing thing properly. It was just more for us, and then for a few mates that asked that wanted to like represent us in that sense. And then as we sort of expanded with a few more DJs that were proper part of it, then they were like, yeah, we want some clothes as well. And then me and Sluey, as I mentioned, who I run OTC with, he's always been big into his fashion, and so as well, like he likes his designers and that. So we just thought one day, you know, we can do something with this, and if we put our own money in, make it, support ourselves, and that sort of side helped us as well. Because then, like I said, when we were doing gigs for basically nothing, we had little bits of money we had made off the clothes to be able to then support ourselves. So we weren't out of pocket, so that always was helpful as well. As for the, we've got a Khan's wearing the new top. Yeah, so we have actually
a reflective one, isn't it?
If reflective one.
Flash it.
Yeah, so we had other people just asking for more stuff, so we just decided, look, we'll do it again, but we'll vary it up a bit this time.
Yeah, sweet.
Whilst we're on this one here, quickly give us the address so people that if they do like the t-shirts and the hoodies, where can they get it?
Right, we've not actually set up a big cartel or anything online, but as I mentioned, Instagram's OTC Recordings, and literally if you just go on there, we've got a little photo shoot of us and a few of the members of OTC, just wearing a few of the different clothes, and then if you need them, you can either message myself or Sluey, and both in the bio at OTC is mine and his Instagram as well. Also, it's got the other Instagram members, so you can get a hold of any of us, and then we'll just package it up and send it off to you. Once we're a bit more official, then maybe we'll have our own website. But
until then, it's run out of Mumsy's yard.
Yeah, literally, all the stock is sat in my old bedroom in boxes.
Julie's got it on lockdown.
We're not that official yet.
That's proper old school though. Like I like that.
It's all right. Jeff Bezos started Amazon in a garage, I'm pretty sure, so it's fine.
Mate, it all comes out.
While we're on the subject of members, mate, obviously you said it was just you and Sluey to start with, like the founders, if you will, but there's more of you now.
Yeah, well, like I said, back in the Pirate days, it was just because the people who ran the Pirate named the show after me, and by that time, I'd invited a good 4 other friends. Sluey was always there from the start, and then another 3 lads, but then once Pirate stopped, they went off and done their own thing, and when we restarted it, it was just me and Sluey. Yeah, like I said, look, I'm doing it. You were there as an original member, you on board. And then Ozzy, who taught us both how to mix, he's like an honorary member. He's a very busy man, so he's not really about. And then our mate Mowgli, who we know from actually the rave scene, he's a good DJ as well, very good. He was like, look, I want to be involved, and I said, yeah, mate, you're a well good DJ. Happy to have you on side. So he's quite a main member as well. And then there's my mate Husky, who he's played quite a jungle DJ. And then we've got a new lad called Jadis. He's a young lad from town. I mean, he's been producing only about a year or 2 now, and he's really good. We've got some of his releases, which, by the way, if you want to look at them, you can get on SoundCloud at OTC Recordings as well. Yeah, and there's a few free tunes. If you like your drum and bass, there's loads of free tunes on there as well.
We'll drop links to all this stuff at the bottom of
the sweet. Cheers, Con. But yeah, then Jadis, he's a real...
Hit us up!
But yeah, he's a real good up and comer. With Mowgli, as I just mentioned, he's been doing his producing recently. So it's another reason, like I said, why we made OTC into OTC Recordings. We had friends making music that we thought should be out there. And as DJs as well, it's nice to have your own sort of tunes, if you know what I mean, that not other people are playing. So then you can put them out there, promotes your mates as well. And we've had a few decent things. We've got a few decent things lined up for this year. Obviously, it's a shame, no events, because that's another good way to obviously promote yourself and everyone on the thing. But yeah, if anyone wants to find anyone on the label or any of the actual members, the OTC Recordings Instagram has got everyone in the bio as well. So you check them out.
Yeah, so that feels like a good point to mention how, obviously we mentioned it briefly before, joking about what festivals were and if people will ever remember. But how have you found like the impact of COVID on obviously the nightlife industry has ripped it to pieces? Like, has that personally affected you and like things that you were looking to do with OTC?
Yeah, hugely. The shared building that set the fire alarm off twice. actually is above a nightclub, and we had
Wow.
people
are having a secret rave in there now. No.
Oh, don't go there. I really wish. That was actually the event I said we had T.I. at, and where I supported him was actually down there. That was the first ever one. So I know the manager, obviously the club owner. But we was actually meant to do an event in December, just when we'd come out of the last lockdown. And obviously, because coronavirus was still about, the government said to him, "You've got to stay shut." So we had an event literally that was running. We was actually sold out, because obviously it's all going to be sit down with the current rules, and then that just got cut. So we had to obviously do refunds, that sort of thing. A lot of people were disappointed. We were going to obviously the close. A lot of them were meant to be there at like another stall for us, and that's just one thing. A lot of obviously other members, we were booked. Not to blow our trumpet, but we were booked for a lot of big events the whole of 2020. So like I said, as I mentioned, one of my favourite ones, Strawberry Fair, Blueprint was meant to happen again. They all just got, postponed till God knows when, because they still don't know when festivals are going to open up. So yeah, even not even in a financial way, anything, in just a whole promotion way. And like I said, we do it for the enjoyment as well. Proper put a halt on things. And as anyone knows, when you're trying to build a following and that, you've got to keep on top of these things. Like, you know what I mean? You've got to still try and put yourself in the public eye and get out there more and more, put yourself on the map. So when you've near enough got a whole year of pause, you've got to do the other things to sort of keep up, which is, like I said, we've had releases on the label this year. So we tried to keep that running, so we're still in that. But COVID's really done a lot to a lot of people. Even the lads that produce on our label couldn't get as much work, so they can't buy the new equipment. So it affects us in loads of different levels, as it's done everyone in the music industry and, club owners, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, talk to us about some of the ways that obviously, you're mentioning that you have adapted in certain ways, but I mean, what kind of, obviously there's a lot of pressure. So how do you take that vibe and that energy and that experience that you get when you go to a concert or a gig or a rave, and how do you then kind of try and implement that online and build that same, not maybe the same, but an amazing level of experience for people?
See, that has been a very hard one as well. Luckily, we've been able to still do the radio slots all year, because that's sort of exempt, because it comes across as a job, basically, or how the owner of it can put it across. You're doing a public service because people can't go out, because you're trying to get radio to them, so they can still listen to music and enjoy it.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Like I said, it's a hard one to bring the vibe from a rave where you're around loads of people, everyone on the same thing, to where you just sat there in the studio. So we try and have a laugh with people when you're hosting as well. Like I said, luckily people can still interact in the comment sections, but it is not impossible to bring that. But then what we've done is we tried to get some good guests in, you know what I mean? So there was almost a live performance part as well. We got our good friends, My Bad Sister, to come down. They did a live performance on the mics and that. So obviously that's a good way to interact. As I mentioned, someone who I supported years ago, J-Line, he come down to our show, and he's quite well known in drum and bass. So these little extra things sorry, what is going on? Sorry, I had a low battery thing up on the phone. Jesus Christ. But yeah, J-Line coming down. So that's all these little extra things they add to it, and it does get people excited. But to recreate a whole year of what everyone's missed, that's who I feel worse for in this whole situation. It's the raver that works 5 days a week to be able to afford to go to these events, and then they can't.
Yeah,
I mean, we're sort of privileged, you know what I mean? We do something we love, and we might make a little buck out of it, or get what we would pay for free. But then the people that worked all week to then not be able to do anything, they're who I feel worse for, to be honest.
Yeah, man. I think for a lot of people, festivals, like I remember Boomtown used to be the biggest part of my year. Like that to me, that 5 days there was like the equivalent of going on an all-inclusive holiday. Like that is the level of enjoyment you would get from it. So I think everyone is just hoping we can get back to that one day.
Yeah, I don't know. There'll be scenes at the first festival back. There'll be absolute scenes at the first festival back.
They're going to need some serious security on the case, I reckon.
Yeah.
But just obviously, it's kind of shut the whole event industry down. But what have you been keeping yourself busy with during lockdown?
A lot of it, because obviously, like I said, Louis the vice president, so I say, and I'm the president of it. A lot of it has been trying to network with other artists. The artists that are on a label, obviously, they send me bits and I give them feedback. So it's just sort of trying to keep them busy, trying to keep myself busy with like the behind the scenes sorts of stuff, trying to set up for this, for what we want to do in the future, really, like what we want to do with the clothing come this year, what we want to do with releases come this year, who we want on the label, little things, just trying to network. So I can't lie, there's been a lot of times I've been twiddling my thumbs, but you try and keep yourself busy. Man, it's, luckily where I live, I do have there's a set of decks here as well, so I can spend a lot of time perfecting my craft, so to say. You know what I mean? So it comes with its advantages and its disadvantages, but so it's been a good time to sort of perfect crafts and have a real think about what we want to do, what direction we want to go in, who we want to be on board with, and who can genuinely help us. But there's still nothing like going to the rave and playing to the rave, you know what I mean?
I don't think there's anything quite like that, is there?
And then, you know what I mean, you come off the stage, you got someone going, that was sick, mate, you're amazing. Yeah. Like, I'm buying you a beer. Yeah, unfortunately, it's nothing like that. Yeah, and a t-shirt. Actually, mention that, Blueprint, one of your favourite events, I said, that was early on in the t-shirt days, and I got down on the stage just when we had finished our event, and I had a load of t-shirts in my backpack. I was chucking them out for random people, and then just see someone sweaty in the rave late with an OTC top tied around their head, like, mate, you were sick, and I'm like, oh god.
I think that is, if you could summarise a rave into a picture, you know, that guy, whoever did that, that's pretty much
complete legend. Complete legend.
OTC super fan.
Yeah, that's sort of, like I said earlier, we're lucky that we're not a huge following outside of East Anglia. We've got an all right following down in southwest of Bristol, so we've got a few good mates there. But I mean, outside of East Anglia, we're not megally known. We played it block to block in Manchester and that as well. But the fan base we do have is quite a dedicated one in that sense. They're always supporting us, so that's quite lucky.
Well, as soon as COVID's all done, mate, I'm sure the fan base will grow more and more once you can start getting out there a bit.
Exactly that. Like I said, 2020 was meant to be a massive year for us because we were playing places we'd never played before. In 2019, we played in Amsterdam as the sort of, not a favour, but we got a free ticket out there. So once again, like I said, like they're the sort of benefits of something you would be going to and you then get for free. But this year we meant to be playing in Amsterdam, but an actual real decent slot. Last year we just sort of warming up, that sort of stuff. But the things we're meant to be doing this year, like we're meant to be on a secret stage at, I probably actually shouldn't say that, but at the event Carmody.
You almost slipped that one there, right? At the event Carm really likes, but that's what I mean. This year we was going to do things we hadn't done before on bigger stages to bigger crowds, where there are people that because they're not far above you, but you know what I mean, that they're there to notice you, and then that can take you on leaps and bounds as well. So, but obviously, like I said, hopefully everything goes back to normal this year, and we can that will continue, because we are still down for everything. It's now literally just a waiting game.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, boys, for me, that feels like a good spot to wrap it up, unless, Luke, you've got anything else you want to touch on? Or...
Nah, man. Firstly, I just want to say, obviously, you know, big up yourself for coming on. It's incredibly appreciated. You know, you were touching on earlier, kind of getting your name out there, and when you first started, you know, just having that dedicated fan base. And for me and Khan, we're in the exact same situation. Obviously, you're a lot further down the line than what we are right now. So we, you know, absolutely know that building up those core followers and those fans and interacting with people and just trying to, you know, bring some positivity into people's life. And you're obviously doing that to a big scale. So yeah, I appreciate the work that you do, man. It's been nice chatting to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Cheers, man. It's been good to meet you as well. Cheers for, like I said, having me on. It's been an enjoyment.
Well, look, mate, there's definitely more we can go into. We'll have to get you on here with Sluey at some point as well.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get a little live set coming on.
Definitely. Yeah, we can do that for sure, mate. I mean, I don't know about the sound quality if we're doing it through a phone, but we can definitely go through that. Yeah, so I'll have Sluey. We can get Sluey down me next time. We can go into more detail about the clothes then as well. He'll have his own view on on everything. You can ask how he started. But yeah, sweet. Do that, and we try to get a live setting as well.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Featuring Regular People. Hope you enjoyed the content. Stay tuned for more. There'll be episodes dropping weekly fairly soon. But yeah, Jabba, big up yourself, mate. It was good chatting to you.
And make sure that you like, subscribe, and share all the posts there. Let's get it out as much as possible.
Yeah. Links to everything that was discussed, OTC, clothing, mixes, SoundCloud, Instagram, all down there. Nice one, boys.
Hit that subscribe.